Hello everyone, Chris Petri here. Guys, I had a great question from Brian, one of my subscribers. He said, hey, I really love to do boats. How do you paint boats? How does the process go? So I figured I would do like probably a two-part series on this because we'll cover everything pretty much from start to finish as if you were sitting down and you were going to draw and paint some boats. I'll do a simple composition as far as my boats. I'm not going to get too sophisticated with fancy boats with a lot of, intricate drawing. Just some real simple ideas, simple shapes. I find that really works well in paintings, is keeping things more simple and fresh. Although details are nice sometimes too, but I tend to go on the more abstract side of realism when it comes to my painting. So I try to not get too much detail, but enough there that it's interesting. So I'll kind of just pan over here to my palette. And as you can see, my palette, fresh, moist, wet, juicy paints, freshly squeezed paints, nice clean palette to start with, nice and fresh paints and clean palette. And then we tilt back over here. And I have a video called Palette, my palette on YouTube. If you just type in Chris Petri and palette, that goes over all the details of my palette, what colors I use and so forth. So we'll start with our contour drawing. Basically, I have a photograph across from me that I have taped up on my wall in my studio here. And the photograph is not so much important. It's really just the simple shape. So I would, if I was, teaching a class and we were sitting one-on-one or in a group, I would say, you can go on the internet, write on your iPhone or on your laptop, or even in a book, in a watercolor book. If you have watercolor books, you can go in and look and find a photograph or a painting you really, really like, and then use that as your guide, as your drawing. So I'm just going to draw a simple. Trying to think. I'm not going to try to get too complicated here. I'm just going to try to do my contour drawing. And these are just going to be two nice sailboats. Contour drawing, I leave my pencil on the paper and I don't lift up, and I just follow the lines around. I'm doing the reflections in the water now. These boats will be white, so I'm going to leave lots of beautiful white paper in this painting of the boats. And I'm just, again, looking at my photograph. I just keep looking back and forth. I look at the photograph or the painting across from me, then I draw. And I just keep drawing slowly, contour drawing. I see some distant hills across here. And then I see another boat over here. And I slowly contour draw. Some shadow shapes there. Distant hills, and this looks like a harbor. So this is all water here. Then we have some of the masts of the boats, so I don't get too I don't get too concerned with every little detail. I just try to, as you can see, I definitely got the shapes of the boats pretty solid, and then the rest we can just move along quickly. We don't have to be concerned about every single detail here, just enough to keep us in a good solid composition here. Okay, so these are some boat ideas. Contour drawing, keeping the pencil on the paper at all times as much as possible, lifting up occasionally here and there, bouncing around. So I have my basic composition here, a couple of sailboats, maybe a fishing boat over here, a commercial fishing boat. And maybe some clouds too. We can just fill in some cloud shapes here. Some distant sky clouds. Okay, this is going to be part one. And now we're in pretty good shape. We have our pencil drawing completed. I'm going to grab a few brushes. These are sable round brushes, 6 and 10, with decent points. And we will start to paint. I think I'll start with the darks first. I think this is a little bit of a simpler approach. Starting with the darks first kind of sets the pace for the rest of the painting versus going with lights first. But you can do it in reverse too and start with lighter tonal values. It's up to you. I do both. I start sometimes with darks, or I sometimes start with lighter values, tonal values, but here we'll start with the darks. And I'm just going to, a simple approach to this painting, fresh paint on the palette. Cadmium red, three blues, cerulean, French ultramarine blue, and cobalt blue. A little bit of mineral violet, purple color, and maybe we'll do a little bit of, we'll put some yellow ochre on our palette. And we'll just do a nice simple blue. I'm thinking the light's going to be coming from this side of the painting. It's very, very good to do this. If you are looking at a painting or a drawing or a photograph, try to see where the light's coming from if you can. If it's coming straight overhead or to the right or to the left. Here it's coming from this side, the light. So the sun's probably over here in the sky on the right side. So I'm starting with my darks. Reflecting them in the water. And I try to mix in a little bit of different colors with my blue just to keep it interesting. Then I move to a smaller brush even yet. This would be a 4 round brush with a really good point. Straight paint right out of the tube, right from my palette. And just quickly I put in a little bit of detail work. A nice stripe along the side of the boat. I pick up a little bit of gold and some yellow ochre for the shadow side here. A little bit of splashing just to keep things fun. I'll do some windows here just quickly. Nothing really so detailed, just some windows shapes. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber into my blue, just so I can get some variation and changes in the color. Shadow underneath the boat, the top of the boat, the canopy. Okay, the light's coming from this side, so this side gets some shadow. Here's where it really pays to leave the darks dark and then sort of move on to another part of the painting. Otherwise, there's going to be too much mingling and mixing of the paint. So, and I'll just do a little bit of red here to make it interesting. Put that in the water. Okay, I'm going to move along here. I have on an apron and I'm drying off my brush occasionally on my apron. You can use a sponge or a napkin or a paper towel or tissue. Tapping off some paint. Okay, I'm going to go back to a little bigger brush. To block in some of these other colors, I'm doing the shadow side here. A little bit of purple. And if I use it there, I've got to move it around and get it somewhere else on the painting too. I want to have a harmony to the painting. And of course, I'll let this dry between videos. So this is part 1. We'll move to part 2 very soon. Reflection in the water. Boat. Okay, we're established now. We've got some good darks in this. And we'll come back on part 2 and we'll finish up. And I might do a little bit of work to it before we come back to part 2, but I'll explain what I'm going to do. All right, see you on the next one. Bye-bye.